Hi, I'm Seungbum Lim. Today I'm going to present my survey on LLM communication protocols, focusing on Anthropic's MCP and Google's A2A protocol. This is the table of contents. I'll start with a brief introduction to the background and core concepts of MCP and A2A. As the image shows, early chatbots such as the ChatGPT-3 and GitHub Copilot relied on plugin system to integrate external tools. Some of you might have used the Wolfram plugin in ChatGPT before. This was the earlier method for connecting external tools to LLMs. However, there was no standard protocol for tool integration, so as a result, developers had to create separate implementation for each LLM. Early LLM plugins were siloed and lacked proper security. What we need is an open, structured, and secure way to share context and delegate tasks across systems. To address these issues, there have been earlier efforts to build standardized connection networks from 1994. In 1994, the knowledge query and manipulation language was introduced. It was designed as a communication protocol for software systems and intelligent agents. KQML is one of the earliest attempts to define a standardized way for software agents to communicate. He introduced a message format based on performatives such as ask, tell, achieve. In 2003, the Simple Object Access Protocol was widely adopted for web-based software communication. SOAP is a protocol for exchanging structured information between computers over the web. It relies on XML file to define message formats and usually operates over HTTP. In 2023, function calling was introduced, marking a step toward defining protocols for LLMs. Function calling allows an LLM to use external tools via API calls. Function calling lets LLMs generate structured output like JSON that describe which function to call and with what arguments. It enables developers to connect tools like database, calculators, or APIs directly into a model's response workflow. However, function calling is still limited to two uses within a single model environment. It doesn't support communication or collaboration between different LLMs or distributed agents. And in 2024, Anthropic proposed the Model Context Protocol. You can think of it like a USB-C port, a universal connector that makes it easier to link LLMs with external tools and data sources. MCP has three main components. MCP host is the LLM itself, which interprets user input and decides when to delegate tasks to external tools. MCP client is a middleware component that manages communication between the host and various tools. It sends invocation messages and handles responses. MCP server represents the external tool or resource. It receives structured requests, performs the task, and returns a result. In summary, the MCP is a lightweight, message-based protocol designed to let LLMs call tools and exchange contextual information in a structured, secure, and extensible way. In 2025, Google DeepMind proposed agent-to-agent. A2A is a protocol designed to enable direct communication between AI agents. It allows agents to collaborate, coordinate, and share information autonomously, laying the groundwork for a multi-agent LLM system. The A2A system is composed of three key layers: user, client agent, and remote agent. When a user requests a task, the client agent analyzes the request and determines which remote agent is best suited to handle it using metadata code on agent card. The client agent then sends the request to the selected remote agent, which performs the task and returns the result. And in my project, I implemented a chatbot that combines both MCP and A2A protocols. The overall architecture follows the A2A, while external tool integration is handled using the MCP. Let's see the demo video of my project, MCP Chainbot. Using the Streamlit framework, I implemented a chatbot UI. When user types a message into the message box, the client agent analyzes the input, selects the appropriate remote agent, and invokes an external tool if needed. The result is then returned and used by the LLM to generate a final organized response for the user. Currently, I have integrated 3 external tools: Weather API, Wikipedia, and Exchange Rate API. Let me show you a few examples. When the user asks what's the weather in Pohang, then the system activates the weather agent, retrieves the weather data through the tool, and provides the result. And similarly, if the user types "tell me about the Hamdong Global University," the system calls the Wikipedia agent, fetches the relevant information, and summarizes it for the user. Lastly, when the input is exchange rate from USD to KRW, then the chatbot retrieves the latest exchange rate data using the exchange rate tool and displays it. And these examples demonstrate how the system can dynamically use different tools through agent coordination to provide informative answers. In conclusion, while both MCP and A2A are still under active development, there are ongoing challenges such as security, scalability, and interoperability across systems. However, these protocols are likely to become the standard foundation for communication in the era of multi-agent AI systems. In fact, many companies are already developing their own MCP servers and actively investing in the A2A ecosystem. So if you're interested in this emerging space, I highly recommend trying out to use it. Thank you for your attention.